Dun dun. Oh, oh, oh. Dun dun. Oh, oh. You know you love me, yo. I know you care. Just shout whenever, yo, and I'll be there. You are my love. You are my heart. And we will never, ever, ever be apart. Here we go with the tonality. Are
Are
we in
we getting
high?
high?
Girl, quit playing. We're just
Just
friends.
friends.
What are you saying? Said there's another, and look right in my eye. My first love broke my heart for the first time. Tonality on that was crazy.
And that was like, baby,
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 baby.
baby.
Yeah, there was a great meme or just like a post. He's like, yo, Justin Bieber, one, the amount of sweat, like when everyone zigs, you zag. Peter and I were just talking about this on the phone yesterday, but everyone's got this high production stuff, right? When they do that, you do the opposite because you create contrast and that's how you separate yourself from the crowd. But someone on Instagram was like, yo, bro, Justin Bieber can still kick it with white people because obviously he looks very white. He can kick it with Hispanic people because when he wears like a white beater, he kind of looks like Amigos. He can kick it with black people because he's got like a certain look. He dresses like more streetwear. He's made himself so ambiguous, bro. He could stand in any crowd. Whereas like when he started in the industry and the whole mushroom cut. But bro, he's got Riz. He's got aura, as the kids would say. He's got aura, man. I thought that was so sick.
Yeah, I'm big fan of Justin Bieber. I know he's kind of gone through some ups and downs throughout the last couple of years, and I know he's a little bit more kind of reserved now. But that dude can still ball out. I thought, yeah, I mean, just him pulling out the laptop and just kind of like pulling up some of his YouTube stuff. I know some people are cracking up. They're like, "Yo, this man's got money. He's on YouTube Premium."
Yeah.
But yeah, what for those of you guys who watched Coachella, like Justin Bieber, he basically went on stage and a lot of it was really kind of just like casual. It almost seemed like I don't know if it was intentional or if he kind of just like made it up on the spot. But he basically just pulled up his YouTube, connected his MacBook, and just pulled out some memes and some like OG videos of him back in the day. I know there was one that he did with Chris Brown's "With You" that really kind of projected him out onto the music scene. And I don't know if it was just like some nostalgia for him or what, but dude, the entire crowd loved it, man. It
Yeah,
was just
two
like
things.
nobody else has ever done anything like that.
Oh man, two things with that, right? I think the first one that I just want to make note of is like he starts to tear up, and I thought that was such a beautiful thing, man. Because like I'll tell you straight up, I cried
Inner
yesterday.
healings.
I was talking to my coach, and I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm in a really good place. Like, my mindset has shift. I'm walking around with a little bit more motion. Like I feel really good. And I talked to her. I was like, yeah, this past weekend, presented in front of like 275 people. Like people were just fucking coming out to me like that was the best speech I've ever heard since attending this event for like over a decade and stuff. And I was like, damn. And she's like, she repeated to me what I said to her about a year and a half ago when I started working with her. I I got the notes. I'll share it because I got teary eyed. I was just like, fuck. She said, this is what I said to her on our discovery call. I said, I think I'm introspective more than the average person. And I'm just looking to talk through things with someone who has an unbiased opinion. I haven't been good for a long time because I've had a weird upbringing. I'm born in New York City, lived in China for 5 years away from my family. I'm a people pleaser because I don't want to be abandoned. And I was a big troublemaker as a kid, but I'm married, I'm running a business, and I have an amazing wife. The problem is I have no direction, no time for myself anymore. I don't know what to do. My parents are immigrants and most people don't get it. I feel so lonely and I want more clarity. Like, what should I focus on so I don't do more harm to myself? I want to show up for myself more so I can show up better for others. And I'm stressed right now and I temper that stress with working out and sleeping so I'm more adaptable, but I want to be more level headed. I'm emotionally reactive. My insecurity is that I've never had any success until now. I host seminars and do all these talks, but I'm still this little kid inside, and old habits are showing up. I feel like I need reminders and support. A lot I need to talk through, and I see a problem in PT and I want to solve it. I have a sense of purpose. Our industry needs to be supported, and the only resources I have are podcasts, but everything feels so far away from where I am. I want to be there, but I also want to enjoy now. And she's repeating to me this over the phone. I just start fucking crying because I'm like, holy shit, we fucking cooked. We're like in a way different place. reflect on the fucking journey, not just like when you're a kid, but even sometimes like a year from now. And then the second part was that bro fucking shipped it. That video was on a fucking webcam, 2 megapixels max, and that made him fucking famous. And you're so afraid to create content right now when Justin Bieber is where he's at right now because of a webcam video on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I just like blows my mind. And there's this like Noah Kahan, he sings Stick Season, and I forget the song how it goes, but the Stick Season, the song went viral, and he's like, yeah, I threw up this fucking guitar song about being high and like how pandemic sucks, and I didn't know what the fuck to expect. He threw up on TikTok. He woke up 3 million views, and now he's got record deals and all of his stuff. But that video wasn't high production by any means, right? And I think most people are so concerned with how high production something is versus the content that's in those videos. Just fucking ship it.
You just got to do it. Man, I had so many different thoughts I want to comment on when you're kind of talking about the seminar, and then also talking about looking back on the previous older version of yourselves and seeing how far you come. Let me give a little bit on that. I think it's so good to reflect back on, where you were maybe a year ago. But for Justin Bieber, it was like shit, maybe like 10, almost 15 years ago, 20 years ago, yeah. Because I think so many times, we're just so caught up in the day to day. It doesn't feel like we're getting anywhere. We're making any kind of progress. But like shit, you look at where you were maybe a year ago. Like a good perfect example is just exactly that, right? Like it was a year ago that you were talking to Erica, where you had that like note of like everything that you're currently going through, versus kind of like everything that you're seeing and like, whoa, I'm like a 2.0 version of myself, and we've been able to kind of tick off a lot of those boxes that we wouldn't have even thought about being able to take off back a year ago. Versus maybe like shit, like had you like documented something like that like 5 years ago, fresh out of PT school, where were you thinking? Versus kind of where you are now. It's such a cool reminder to be like, yo, like you guys got to feel proud of yourselves, because I think it's so easy as like being business owners, entrepreneurs, just like you're getting like gut punched, at least like 5 times a day. You forget like how much shit you've been able to accomplish. So give yourselves a kudos, and yeah, pull us some like, I think one of the good things too, also I'll tie this into the next point of like, hey, just documenting and just like forget about like all the high glam production type stuff, but just documented stuff regardless if you put it out there, but more so just document just for yourself, so that you're able to kind of come back and look on it like 3-5 years from now, and just be able to be like, yo, like this is where I was back then, and then shit compared to where you are now.
Dude, there's our first event. It was at a kind of a little bit of like dingier hotel in Orlando. The website looked sick. The website made it look like it was gonna be a 5-star resort.
We got.
We got, but it was honestly so much fucking fun. But at the beginning of the second day, I go into the other room that's open, and I have this video where I recorded the room empty, and I'm like, and all I said in that video was, "It's gonna be crazy when we fill up a room with over 100 people, and we gotta rent a space like this." And all those little things are so fun to look back at. When you're struggling with confidence, you have to stop downplaying all the shit that you've been through, right? One of the reasons why people aren't confident is because like, oh yeah, I did that. It's like, give yourself some fucking credit. The more credit you give yourself for doing some of these difficult things, the more confidence that you'll have. And you just want to stack this proof that you're capable of all the things that have happened to you, and excelling, so that it's easier to take the next step into uncertainty. Because yes, when you're like a teenager in your early 20s, mid 20s, even late 20s, it can be difficult, right, to take that next step. But your goal is to just step outside your comfort zone as much as you can, so that you can stack that proof, so that when you're in your early 30s, it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to do this move, right? It's the only thing to do, because I know what it's like. I've already done this before. I've been in uncomfortable situations. I put myself in them, and I've grown.
Yeah, and a lot of the with like building confidence is just by actually doing the thing itself. I'm sure like whenever Justin Bieber was like putting out content, in order for him to actually like get good, or even putting out music, he had to do so much like repetitions of singing and practicing. That was probably, he probably uploaded to like some sort of YouTube or some other platform that hasn't been discovered yet. But the only reason why he got there is because he had that much amount of volume to actually get to that point. And so I think a lot of times, like online, you're always comparing yourself to others, and you see kind of like the final finished production of what their best version currently looks like, and you're just constantly comparing yourself to that. But you don't see like the amount of volume of like repetitions they did to kind of reiterate and figure out, hey, like what works, what doesn't work, in order to actually get there. And so I think there is a lot to be said of just like, hey, learning through the process of just putting stuff out there and constantly, revising and going from there. Because I mean, shit, if we waited until like we were pros and experts at putting on live events, we would be probably waiting like 5-10 years from now to actually, actually put on a live event for you guys. But we knew we would learn like so much just from actually doing and going through the motion of like putting the first one together. And our second one, like, I know from like the back end side of things, we definitely thought it was a lot smoother. But there were still even more things that we knew we could have improved from it as well too. So you guys just got to take action. You learn so much and you gain so much confidence just by actually doing it.
Yeah, just to give you context, we did a 10K run on a second day, put it at a time where people could barely see themselves running down below. But like all these things are just learning experiences, right? Like, hey, what time of the year? When does the fucking sun rise? Like we didn't even take that
We
into
had no
account.
idea.
But it was a great run. But there's something to be said about just shipping it, right? Like you're never going to be ready for these things and just doing it. And also just being like authentically yourself. I think people vibe with Justin Bieber's on stage and he fucking cried in front of a bunch of people. Do you think he cares what other people think? It's like, no. But the people that do care about how he reacts and how he feels, it's like they've just now got more and more respect for them. The craziest shit, right? Like this past weekend, Christy was like, had to talk. I'm like, I fucking crushed it. Holy crap. But I did something I never thought I would do. I legitimately admitted to a room of 275 people that had a porn addiction. And I was like, oh shit. People were like, fuck. But I tied it to like what my history was, right? It's like, I grew up in China. I lived with my godparents. And then when I was reunited with my biological parents, I didn't have like that normal physical affection from Asian parents, right? Like my dad was super stoked to see me because he hadn't seen me in 5 years. But then after 2 weeks, monotony kind of creeps up and like we're back to normal. So 2 weeks of like quote unquote love and affection from an Asian parent is still not like a typical love. The typical love and affection from Asian parents isn't even close to anyone's baseline.
Yeah.
So I'm just a fucking kid that didn't grow up with biological parents that was dying, right, to just have like physical affection, love, and touch from my parents, and I never got that. So for me, instead of shaming myself for having porn addiction, it's like, what else would happen in a time where all these things are readily available? So it's like I was just doing the best I could, and I forgive myself. And I confessed those things to Christy before when we first started dating, and she didn't judge me for it. And I just said something in the crowd. I'm like, if one of you guys just yelled out right now, you fucking pervert, I'd be like, fuck you. I hope you find peace, right? Because I've forgiven myself. But that's the whole point. It's like when you are so comfortable in your own skin, you don't even mind being vulnerable or feeling kind of weak because it allows you to connect with a bunch of people. And I feel like watching that, I've never felt more connected to Justin Bieber.
And I feel like if anything, it almost kind of allows you to feel a little bit more free because you don't necessarily have to hide behind like a certain persona or facade. It's just like, hey, like this is literally who I am. I think I see a lot of people do that with their content now, where it's just like they post 4 or 5 times a day, but it's just shit that they can talk about and they enjoy talking about it. It's everything's just completely unscripted and it's like unedited. It's literally just selfie style, and they just talk directly into it and they just put out massive volume of it. But it's all stuff that is unscripted, is all about like topics that they enjoy, and people are just enjoying a lot of it because it's just so different from what a lot of social media has seen, which is like, hey, the highly edited, animations, text, and they just kind of like want like something that's way different from that. But I'm sure like maybe in like 2 years when everybody's kind of doing like this like authentic type stuff, I don't know, there's probably gonna be a different type of new trend that comes up. But yeah, it's just always doing something different.
It's always gonna ebb and flow. Like everyone right now is doing a talking like head in the car kind of video. So you can still milk it. But when things change, again, that's when you change. Or sometimes you create your own lane. But I just saw an ad for a physical therapy mastermind group of someone talking in front of a Lamborghini. And I'm just like, I could not be less connected to this person. Like I don't even think I want to attract anyone into our group that is like just interested in like Lamborghinis because like it's just not who we are. Like we're fucking like Peter and I, Christy and I, it's like we just prioritize like travel, eating good food, being with dope people, and like one or two random things. Can we drive a Lambo and get a Porsche? Like, sure, but it's just like, dude, my next ad that I'm shooting would be in front of the Toyota RAV4. It's like, what's going on? This is
A hybrid, baby.
this is actual entrepreneurship, right? This is not renting a random ass car and doing X, Y, Z. You're just gonna fucking attract people with daddy issues, and it's just like, dude, don't need that. Like, you have nothing to prove. Go fucking like, you know what's better than having a Lamborghini or a Porsche? Fucking time freedom, peace, happiness.
Dude, speaking of Lambos, I did see this really interesting stat the other day online where they said over like it's like 60 or so or 70% of people who kind of post and flex their Lambos online as like the gurus or the coaches, like the majority of those are all like rented purely just for scripting the ad. And I was like, man, that's crazy because a lot of times like you just kind of believe what you see online, you know? And you know, a lot of times there's a lot more that kind of goes behind the scenes.
Yeah, dude, I just look at like these things and I'm like, seeing a Lambo wouldn't fucking get me to join your mastermind. I'm sorry. You know,
Dude, I feel like
seeing
I would be so nervous about having a Lambo just because I feel like I would need to like keep it like sheltered and like kept in like a perfect condition all the time because of how expensive it is. Dude, my truck, man, I like rip it through like curves and stuff because I know it's like it's gonna get dinged and just like it's very freeing knowing that hey, like I can drive it through whatever and it'll be totally fine.
yeah, I think the next ad is going to be in front of the RAV4 and then like walking Oliver. It's like, this is what it looks like to fucking have freedom, right? Like, took Oliver for a 3 hour walk yesterday. I'm like, that's fucking what it's about. Not a fucking Lamborghini. Get a couple of nice watches, you know, splurge on yourself a bit and then just move on. Like, the quicker you can get out of that phase of like pushing to buy material things and starting to move into like, hey, this work is super meaningful. That's why I'm like, yo, just burn out as quick as you can so that you can realize that this shit is not working. Then you find another solution. Then buy the shit that you thought you've always wanted to realize that it really does nothing for you as you start to move forward in life. And then you can start to focus on the real things.
I saw this quote on Burnout the other day that really hit home and it resonated tremendously. But the quote went something like, people forget the whole point of not avoiding burnout is so that you could do more of the actual thing that you need to do or that you want to do. And I think a lot of times, like people, when it comes to burnout, they're like, man, I need to do some more of this like other thing so that I can, you know, be like have like a very very easy life or do whatever. But in reality it's like you want to kind of have these like different like little ebbs and little things to kind of keep you in check so that you can actually like keep doing the thing that you are doing. I think if people can kind of find a lot of enjoyment and joy in like the actual work of growing things, whether it's like business or physical therapy or like being really really good clinically, then they'll just be able to do a lot more of it. But anyways, that was a little bit of a sidetrack on burnout. I saw that, I was like, man, that's a bar right there.
I like that. You know the parable of the Mexican fisherman? I got you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This is turning into a fucking modern wisdom podcast.
Now we're gonna loop it back, but yeah, right after this.
If you could loop this shit back, fucking A1, baby. An investment banker was at a pier of a small coastal Mexican village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. Inside the small boat were several large yellowfin tuna. The American complimented the Mexican on the quality of his fish and asked him how long it took to catch them. The Mexican replied, only a little while. The American then asked, why didn't he just stay out there longer, just catch more fish? The Mexican said he had enough to support his family's immediate needs. The American then asked, but what do you do with the rest of your time? The Mexican fisherman said, I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, take siestas with my wife Maria, and stroll into the village each evening where I sip wine and play guitar with my amigos, and I have a full and busy life. The American scoffed, I have an MBA from Harvard. I can help you. You should spend more time fishing. With the proceeds, buy a bigger boat. With the proceeds from the bigger boat, you should buy several boats, and eventually you would have a fleet of fishing boats. Instead of selling your catch to a middleman, you could sell directly to your processors, eventually opening up your own cannery. You can control the product processing and distribution. And of course, you would need to leave this small coastal village and move to Mexico City, then Los Angeles, and eventually New York City, where you will run your expanding enterprise. The Mexican fisherman asked, but how long will it take to do? The American said about 15 to 20 years or so. But then what? Asked the Mexican. The American laughed. That's the best part. When the time was right, you would announce an IPO, sell your company stock to the public, and become very rich. You would make millions. The Mexican said, millions, and then what? The American said you could retire, move to a small coastal fishing village, where you could sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take siestas with your wife, and stroll to the village in the evening where you could sip wine and play the guitar with your amigos. Now, this sounds good in nature, but what you're going to find is the more repetitive your days are, the less, the more boring your life becomes. People often recite this parable as a way to be like, hey, you need to enjoy life. But life isn't just having a bunch of pleasures, right? Life is enduring something for a higher meaning, right? You can have this life where you just fish, you go into a village, you drink wine, you dance and siestas. But everyone that retires usually gets bored out of their mind within a year, or they develop dementia, right? Because they don't like do anything. They don't challenge themselves. Like as human beings, I truly think we're meant to strive to do something bigger than ourselves, whether that's for our community, for our world, society, for our profession, our colleagues. So when I hear people like this, it's like, yeah, you gotta learn how to live life. And I'm like, I am living life. I fucking really enjoy doing the work that I'm doing, and I find it so meaningful, right? And I'm finally in a phase where like I don't feel guilty for resting. But I think the parables of these kind of things, where it's like you think that you're just gonna exit and just be okay kicking it at the beach. Trust me, you're gonna be bored out of your fucking mind.
So good, man. So good. Yeah, it's just like you lose meaning and purpose. I heard this thing where a lot of times people strive and are attracted to doing hard things because when they do and achieve like doing something hard, they feel like a sense of pride. And I think it's a feeling that is like very, very addicting. Because you get a sense of like accomplishment. Right? It's like, hey, like I was able to grow my business to this, or I was able to kind of like, I think Nick Barry, they just had like the Go One More Backyard Ultra Marathon,
300 miles.
like 70, 73, 73 or 74 hours, dude, 300 something miles. And I'm like, holy shit. But there's a reason why, all of these like so many people are getting, into these endurance sports. There's something about like, hey, waking up early, putting your body through something uncomfortable, sustaining it for a certain duration of time, and then like getting the sensation of like accomplishment and pride and joy of like, hey, I was able to put myself through that, doing it, and then coming out alive on the other side of it. It's just like brings people a ton of purpose.
Yeah, but here's the thing, man. Like, when you're really pushing yourself and doing a lot of crazy shit, you need a little insurance. You need a little insurance to make sure that you're right on the right path. But there's people that want too much insurance. They almost focus on the insurance too much that they don't actually do the thing that they need to do. Which is why today we're going to be talking about the objection. I want to use my insurance. You need some insurance, but you don't want too much insurance, right? To the point that you just rely on your plan B. There's always going to be a plan B, a plan C. But Peter, when someone is saying, I want to use my insurance, knowing damn well that what they're dealing with is something that really is going to require a higher touch points, closer attention to detail, what do we do?
I think a lot of it before we give that bit, say 8.8. We got rate our transitions. Yeah, that was 8.8 on that. I was thinking a little bit about like if we how we were talking about when people zig, you got to zag, and how like everyone else know high production. It's like, hey, when the majority of other PT players are taking insurance, you got to do the exact opposite, and you got to demonstrate how you are different for the people in front of you. But yeah, when it comes to insurance, I think one of the best ways to do it, you guys hear us talking about it all the time, is just like pre-framing and pre-addressing it beforehand, whether it's in your nurture sequences or in your actual subjective part of the initial evaluation. But let's say for whatever reason, you go through that and at the end, there's still like, hey, I do want to like take a look at my insurance first. I always just like to be like, hey, what was the acronym you used last week?
Drip.
Drip, right? Diffuse.
So yeah, I was going, what's called, who's the dude that we like, the super brash Irish dude?
Super brash Irish dude?
Yeah.
Oh, I know who you're talking the objection handling box dude?
Yeah. His thing is called the strip method. That's what I was like,
the strip method.
Strip method. But you just have to have some sort of acronym. Acronym stick.
But yeah, it's like, hey, not a problem. Just curious, like, do you know the differences between a place like ours versus like a place that does take insurance? And regardless of whatever they say, if they say yes or if they say no, you still want to go into talking very specifically about the differences between the two. Just to kind of, again, like bring it up to, hey, top of mind, making sure, hey, like, well, typically at an insurance place, right, you're typically one physical therapist sees 2 or 3 people at the same time. Whereas with us, It's going to be one-on-one for a physical therapist that truly understands your sport for the full hour. So everything is customized. Whereas with them, you always got to compare and contrast us versus them, us versus them. They zig, you zag.
Hey,
They go high production, we go super authentic. They go Lambos, we go RAV4 hybrid.
that's our latest ad that went out, right? We got the us versus them.
Yeah, us versus them. And so you go through the differences, talk about everything. And then at the end, it's like, well, based on that, which one do you feel like would be the best option and best fit for you? And so the whole point of kind of going, I really like the us versus them because it really paints like a very, very stark contrast between, a place that does take insurance versus a place like ours. And the whole point of that is, they're going to say, oh, okay, yeah, for sure. Definitely sounds like you guys, but, I pay so much for my insurance and all that, I goes so much towards my premium every single month. But the whole point of like kind of painting such a big difference is like, well, when it comes to your health, are we looking to prioritize using your insurance, or are you looking to prioritize like the best quality care for your health? And hopefully, it does come to light. It's like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Like, even though I do pay a lot for my insurance, this is something that I'm going to invest in. From what I've seen a lot of times with the insurance objection, a lot of it also kind of loops and plays back into finances at the end of the day. I think it's insurance, they cover a good bit. Maybe they cover half, maybe they cover all of it, and it like affects how their overall monthly cash flow is. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it just becomes more of like a cash flow matter side of things. But yeah, that's really kind of like the first bit. But yeah, anything you want to add on to that before we transition into the next half of carrying
No,
along the convo? Yeah.
there's a really funny Asian comedian from LA called Sheng Wang, and he was like, "Yo, brother, man, there's no better blessing than needing to meet your deductible in January, because for the rest of the year, I'll be using the shit on my insurance."
Yeah.
He's like, you don't want to get injured in December. That's for fools. You want to get injured in January.
Yeah, play the system right, baby.
No, I kind of go a similar route. Say, hey, totally get it. Do you mind if I ask you a quick question? And the quick question is just simply, if you find out that your insurance doesn't cover it and you don't have an HSA, would it stop you from continuing to get the care that you
Yeah.
want?
Yep.
And from there, right, we get two responses. It's like no, and it's like, all right, perfect. You can kind of explain what's going on. And if it says yes, then we have to break down what else is the main priority, which Peter kind of said loops back to usually finances. Because the way that we operate, we don't bill insurances directly, we provide super bills. So I try to inform people, it's like, hey, okay, it's not going to change anything, right? So what we'll do is we'll send you the super bill so you can figure out what your reimbursement is. Now, what typically happens is it takes a while for the super bill reimbursement to actually come through. Now, you've already said that like things have been trending worse. So I just think it makes the most sense to continue to do what we're doing, because if we wait 4 weeks, it might end up being more visits. It might end up getting worse to the point that you might need something further. So if you want to reach your goals faster, it just makes more sense to get started.
Absolutely. I love the fact that Andy just basically fast forwarded to, hey, like worst case outcome. Because a lot of times, like people will say, hey, like, well, this sounds great, definitely you guys, but I wanted to see what my out of network benefits are. What are they potentially going to cover? Because I think that potentially could, influence whether, I decide to go with you guys or potentially choose somewhere else. But all we're doing in that case with, hey, like, is it okay if I ask a quick question? We fast forward to the time of when we gather all that information. When we do figure out what our insurance covers, will that influence whether we decide to move forward or not? And hopefully, yeah, if they kind of see, hey, you know what, like at the end of the day, regardless of what they do, I'm still going to move forward. Then, yeah, it makes no sense to actually delay everything and wait until we actually get that information. If we can go ahead and get it started now. But yeah, what happens if like, hey, someone says like,
No,
yeah, it's like, what happens if they say no?
that's kind of where I kind of loop into what your question is. It's just like, got it. Just curious, is utilizing insurance like your main like priority, right? Like from there, I just will, if they say like yes, because if they say no, then it's like just then what, we're kind of going all over the place. So just curious, like where's your thought process at? It's more like a rhetorical question, because if they say yes, it's going to prevent me from coming back. The most likely response is they're going to say yes. The main priority is insurance, and you don't want to say okay, that's it. You want to say, all right, do you know what insurance physical therapy session is typically like? If they say yes, then they are aware of what the dynamic is. You can simply reaffirm it's like, you have this going on, right? You obviously already are very aware of what an insurance physical therapy clinic visit looks like. You're going to need something way more specific than just a couple of exercises handed to you in a paper, right? Because your knee issue, yes, it's stuff that we have to address at the knee, but there's also stuff at the ankle and the hip that's contributing to the knee. When you go to an insurance clinic, you're not going to be treated holistically, a full body approach. You're just going to be treated like a knee. And you're going to need programming outside of your sessions, right? You're going to need to build up the run volume and everything else. And insurance is really only going to treat you to make sure that you can do your day to day just fine. Now, would you prefer to work with someone one on one that's going to address the whole body holistically, build a program for you, and do all the things that you need to get back to pain free running? Or would you prefer to go somewhere that's going to take a more cookie cutter approach that you seem to be kind of familiar with?
Always wrap up your educational side of things with a question that forces them to answer. All right. So Andy was like, hey, would you prefer to work with, a one-on-one physical therapist who actually understands running, get you back to running, or traditional insurance PT place that just gives you a cookie cutter program? And they have to, because you asked that question, they have to respond back. They're forced to continue on with the conversation.
Would you rather stay in the Four Seasons or sleep on the streets?
Yeah. Right. It's like you already know the answer to that, but you have to ask it so that way they can verbalize it primarily for themselves. Obviously, if the client, the eval, if they've gone to insurance physical therapy and they already know the difference, it'll be a much easier sell. I think a lot of this is really geared for people who have not gone to insurance physical therapy before, and they're kind of just like on the fence, and they're like, hey, I can tell on paper you guys are better, but I haven't experienced or haven't actually checked it out yet. And so a lot of times if people say no to you, they just feel like, and the problem is urgent enough where they do know that they need to get it solved, but they go somewhere else. They just feel like they could get the same outcome for somewhere else for cheaper. And so the whole point of all this is to really show them like, hey, if you go somewhere else, even though it is cheaper, you either won't be able to get the result that you're looking for, or you fully get back to doing the activity you want to be able to get back to, or B, it just takes you way longer. And so I think like for a lot of the times, the people who haven't gone into like an insurance PT clinic yet and they want to potentially, check it out, you can definitely just kind of like ask them, hey, like that's totally fine. If anything, like I want you to check it out, right? That way you can actually see the differences, but just want to make sure like you're okay, like taking a little bit of a slower route to actually get this issue resolved versus kind of just like getting it the fastest and most efficient path with us in the first place. Now, if they still say yes, like I still want to check it out, then it's all good, right? Then you just set up like a follow-up time for them, whether it's like, hey, you just want to set it up for after just their first visit. Sometimes like you'd be surprised, like we've had some people go just with like one visit at an insurance place, and then they come right back and they're like, yeah, it was everything exactly you saw. I didn't even want to waste my time with it. Or sometimes other people, they may just like go through, like maybe a full 2-month program to see like, hey, how far did I get? Oftentimes, depending on the area that you're at, there really isn't a lot of good quality like insurance care. So they're either at the end of like 2 months, they're still going to be dealing with the problem, or maybe they are a little bit better, but they're still lacking some additional resources to really fully get them back. And that's where, always set up a follow-up for anybody who doesn't close. That way you can continue on the conversation in the first place. One thing too, or sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna the one thing always to think about it, right? It's like when you're going through this whole evaluation process, like those little questions, say, hey, just curious, like why us, right? Like the things that you asked in the beginning, like, hey, what made you interested in coming in? The discovery call, hey, why did you decide to dial Motion RX versus another clinic? They will tell you why they dialed you, right? Because people don't just look at one thing and say, oh, that's where I got to go. They look at their options. It's like, listen, you guys are active, you have barbells, you have this, it seems like that. So when they say they don't know what an insurance practice looks like, say, hey, listen, like, you had chatted with our front desk and you said this is the main reason why you're coming to see us. I'm just letting you know that's not the norm, right? Like when you go to an insurance clinic, you're not going to have a place where there's turf and there's weights. Shoot, there might not even be weights, right? It might just be a wall of TheraBands. And what's typically happening, it's like they don't necessarily care about you getting back. Most of these companies are run by private equity. All they care about is profit. So you're going to be squeezed in with maybe 2 to 4 other patients for that whole hour. You're going to look at your physical therapist. They won't be smiling like me. They're going to be stressed out of their mind, focusing on their laptop. And I'm not saying this because I want you to come back. I'm saying this because I'm just giving you the expectation, because when you go there and you feel it yourself, you're going to realize that the care that we provide is not the norm. And if you can paint the picture of what it's going to look like and then they experience it, and it's brutal, they're going to come back, like Peter said, right? Sometimes they do a 2 month, but the goal is to always have a follow up and check in with them to see how they're doing. And here's the truth: someone might go to an insurance clinic and they might get better with insurance. You can't be mad, right? The reason why you're starting a practice is because you're trying to help people. And someone can get helped at an insurance clinic, it's okay, right? We're not at war with like other clinics. We're at war with people not providing high value care. And that's it.
I'm a big fan of insurance companies and private equity right now, man. At least down here in Jacksonville, Florida, because there was one. Yeah, I'm like, dude, they do such an easy job for us of like just painting such a stark difference. There's a very big hospital chain down here, and they were I think private, but they just like merged with like a larger company. And I have a couple therapists that I know that work there, and they're like, yeah, like before we were seeing about 12 to 15 per day, and since they merged, they're pushing like probably 20 to 25. And no, 100%. I'm like, I'm like, holy shit, goddamn. Because we used to go ahead and we used to like, we'll refer to them if like, hey, somebody like wants to use insurance and whatnot. But I'm just like, damn, like if they're cranking out like 3 or 4 an hour, like, ain't no way like people are gonna really fully get better. And so like because I'm like, oh my god, like it's the exact reason why this model is able to exist from a business standpoint. Shit you not, like if insurance model didn't exist, like it would be so hard to convince somebody to come work with us if everyone else everywhere else would be one-on-one. But because that model exists, it's like we're okay. We're able to paint such a stark difference between how we operate, the differences versus all the other insurance companies. One of the things that we've been able to curate that has helped us out tremendously is basically a massive testimonial tank of a lot of our clients who have left Google reviews. And kid you not, this is something that we do not prompt them on. And they basically talk about their experiences with insurance physical therapy at another like Jack's clinic versus their experience compared to us now and where they are. And this is all unprompted. And we probably got like 40 to 60 of these compiled in like a Google Drive. And we basically created like a Canva presentation. And then we include that as a resource for people to look at before they come in. And we literally just title it like the header, the title of the email, important information you'll want to know before your first visit. And it's just like, hey, don't take it from us. Take it from other people who have been in your shoes, who have gone to insurance physical therapy, and they came in and they got way more benefit out of just the first initial evaluation with us than multiple months at an insurance PT clinic. Again, so I'm not trying to like talk shit about insurance, but it's literally, this is what other people who have been in your shoes have said. And so if you want to learn from the mistakes of others, even though you haven't gone through insurance before, then just avoid the thing that they actually gone through. It's the same reason why people pay us money to learn from us, right? Information. So that they can avoid all the like massive, expensive, multiple mistakes that me and Andy have made along the last 5 and 6 years. How much heartache, how much money, how much time, opportunity costs has that saved just by avoiding all the mistakes and shit we.
The one point I want to make, it's like, I believe in the model that we have. I don't always believe in the people that deliver the model, right? I don't think cash-based physical therapist is synonymous with high quality care. I know plenty of cash pay providers that don't do great rehab, right? So I don't want you to think that like this is a war against insurance per se. It's a war against low quality care. And it's more common to have lower quality care in these insurance models because of the system that's operated in. Whereas there's a little bit more freedom in cash pay because you're going to be working with someone for the full hour. With that said, dude, we get so many referrals from other cash pay clinics that can't seem to figure out what the hell is going on with their patients, right? I just had like last week, 3 people come from other high end, like cash pay physical therapy clinics. And it's like, yeah, we haven't gotten any results. I was just talking to Peter. I have a patient that's like probably worth close to like 9 figures, right? And he has all the money at his disposal, right? It's not a matter of resources. It's just he hasn't been exposed to a model that works for him. We were able to give him relief within the first session. He's been dealing this with for 10 years, right? So it's not synonymous with good care, but you just have to realize that like going the insurance route decreases the ability that someone is going to get the care and attention that they need, especially if they're dealing with something for longer. There's definitely times where insurance is a pro, right? In the early stages of post-op, you can see someone 3 to 4 times, get a ton of soft tissue work. But the demographic that you're going to see is very different. They've been in pain for a longer period of time and they're looking for a solution.
The more times we've gone like in terms of objections, a lot of times I just realize it's just a matter of education. Like people just don't know, hey, like either what they're going to be getting themselves into, or what the differences are. All they know is a lot of times they're just uneducated, or all the only thing they are educated to is like, hey, this place is
They're
really
uneducated.
expensive. This place takes my insurance. That's it.
Yeah.
And so it's up to us, right? And I think a lot of times people just feel like, oh, like these leads are bad, like they just want to use insurance. But it's, dude, these leads are uneducated. And it's up to us as a business owner to educate them, so that way the prospect has all the information in front of them to make an informed decision. And that's pretty much what it is at the end of the day. So the more information that you can provide them, right? You give them testimonials on people who've gone to that before, educate them on the differences of, what we would be able to do versus what the other place would be able to do. So things that you would already be saying in your evaluation afterwards, if people bring up insurance, just put that in the front end, email it to them, make people like read that stuff before they come in. That way it's like, you don't have to like continue to repeat it. And I think a good general rule of thumb is like anything you find yourself repeating multiple times that patients are bringing up as questions, provide that as like a resource for people to consume beforehand, because most likely if multiple times people have asked you that, there are going to be even more people in the future that have questions and concerns surrounding that one topic.
3 things. Holy shit. Yeah. What Peter just said, right? It's like if you're getting an objection constantly already, create a training around it. Create like social proof around those things. Because if you provide those proofs before the actual evaluation, they don't think of it like, oh, they're just trying to close a sale. They just have it now baked in their head. If you provide it near the end, it's like, oh, this person is clearly just trying to close a sale. It's the same reason why we do all the pre-objection handling. What Peter just said about education is so freaking important, right? Because this is something that's going to be across multiple objections. Like when someone says like, I need to think about it, you can be like, totally got to think about it, right? And usually when you have to think about it, it's usually something that I did. And they're going to be like, what? You did nothing wrong. It's like, it's usually because I haven't provided enough education and information. So curious, like, what is there something missing? Like, what do you feel like you have to think about? But it disarms the other person because it's like, oh, it's not a me fault. It's actually the other person in front of me, the person that's trying to sell me a service. Most of it is that, right? It's just making sure that the person has enough information and education to make an informed decision. And if you think about it through that lens of providing value instead of like, I got to close this person, I really need this sale, you can focus on connection, which should be your North Star, right? When you're doing sales, connecting with the patient. You're not, it's me versus you, it's us versus this ailment that you have that we can help you solve.
I love
forgot
that.
what my third point was. But the third point was it's got to be a dance, man. Like the scripts work really, really well to kind of get you to understand the flow. But eventually, it's being able to tie the person's whole story and what they've experienced to the decision that they're about to make. And I had this, I was going through my notes app. My Wi-Fi was so shitty this past weekend, I had nothing to do while I was waiting in between. So I just went through these notes app. And I had this one line that I'm like, wow, it's called feeling is believing. Right? If you can make someone feel something, they're going to believe you. Right? Which is why tonality and all things are so fucking important, how you can paint a picture. Because if you can make someone feel something, they're going to change their actions. But if you don't want to study sales, if you don't want to study objection handling, public speaking, controlling your voice and practicing hand gestures and all this shit to have a more congruent message, you're going to be like, ads don't work. Sales sucks, right?
Looping it back to what we talked about at the beginning, it's just a volume thing, guys. In order to increase your confidence in sales, a lot of it is really just being exposed to multiple different scenarios and practicing it. So it's not a live eval that you're practicing it on, but doing live role play, talking about feeling comfortable with like talking about the differences between the two, feeling comfortable about challenging someone's beliefs in like in a way that makes sense for the both of you guys. Otherwise, like the first time you hear something and you're being exposed to it, you're gonna be like, whoa, like this feels really, really awkward and weird. But it's like this is a live eval in front of you. And that's why if you do a bunch of role play, whether it's with your team, Andy was just right before this, Andy was just doing a bunch of sales training with his team. But the more times you can kind of get this amount of volume in from like a repetition standpoint, the way better it is. Another thing too that's from one of our team members that I just had her, I think like 60-day review. This is one of our athletic trainers that we brought on to do just like a bunch of local events, and I could tell at the beginning when we were kind of like reviewing some of her like injury screen recordings, she just felt like super nervous about like going through the pitch. And like yesterday, as I was going through one of her calls, like, yo, this sounds so good. You sound so confident. She's like, yeah, I just like said it so many times now. Like, I really understand. I can feel myself getting more and more confident. I was like, what do you feel like it was? And she's like, a lot of it is really just like verbalizing it and saying out loud so many different times to get it to a point where it becomes second nature. And so a lot of it is, as you guys are getting, more and more exposed to this, whether it's with ads or it's with, some of this objection handling things, really just practice. You got to verbalize it out loud.
Yeah. Reps, reps, reps. Volume negates luck. That's Alex Ramosey's definitely one of his commandments of what he says about sales, just volume, volume, volume. Man,
this is a banger podcast. We got some pop culture in the beginning. We got some modern wisdom, philosophy, and then we got some insurance objection handling.
I was just thinking, I'm like, this might have been one of the most complete podcast episodes that we filmed. But I think that takes a majority. The last thing to bring up is kind of like one of the most common phrases that people say. It's just a smoke screen, right? So when someone says like, I have to think about it, that's just a smoke screen over like the real reason. So sometimes the insurance objection is actually a financial objection, but you have to work through the insurance objection to get to the financial objection. And you're probably like, what the fuck is this? Yes, it's fucking Art of War, Sun Tzu, baby. Like there's a lot of fucking different tactics, ebbs and flows, and it could be very exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's partially one of the reasons why I personally think sales, is so fun, because there's always like something that you're trying to uncover. It's very, very similar. If you guys view it very similar to like physical therapy, hey, like we're trying to understand and uncover what the root cause of the problem is. It's like same thing with objection handling. It's like a lot of times there are multiple different layers and you need to uncover to be able to kind of triage and figure out, okay, what do I need to kind of guide this person towards?
It's the most transferable skill by far that you can learn. Marketing, I think, is great, right? But when you market, you've got to literally, if you go from like physical therapy to like, I don't know, e-com, there's a huge learning curve in how to market e-com versus physical therapy. But when you learn sales at its root, right, it's very easy to spend a weekend, change your script to reflect a new product that you're going to be selling, which is why it really makes you indispensable. Like if you get really good at sales, because you could take that job, you could take that skill and apply it to so many things. But man, I never really like sales. I've always tried to let the product speak for itself, right? And like the way Peter goes about sales is the way it's different than how I go about sales, right? But the goal is that you're always trying to refine your craft more and more. You don't need to be like somebody else, but you just need to be a little bit better than what you were doing before. Peter, what we got? Oh, hold on.
55, 56, 58, 57?
Yeah, yep. Hold on. 56. This is our 75th episode. Holy cow, guys!
Yeah, we got 75. Come on, guys. We need. What was it?
We need to get up, but I think we are the highest rated podcast for physical. Yeah, yep, we are.
Yeah, so guys, come on, guys, like man, we're bringing the full suite for you guys, man.
This is like you're chilling in bed and we're serving breakfast in bed right now. You don't got to do nothing. You just got to chill, listen to, and we're dropping gem after gem. If you like what we do, just hit us with a quick 5-star review. And if you ever like share us, rate what the transition was for you, rate the karaoke. Just, we like to be judged a little bit.
We rate our transitions. Yeah, that is something that I am curious about. Because we rip these off the cuff.
And then they're probably like, yo, you rated that 8.8. That's probably like a 3.4.
Jeez.
But yo.
It's all good.
Tough love, baby. Appreciate y'all for listening. Man, we got like 2 more parts of this. So let's just keep ripping. Enjoy your day. Let's cook.
Peace.